Tansei, I'm Kashechewan. Welcome to APTN National News Daytime for this Friday. The Pimicikamak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba continues the cleanup this week after the community lost power on December 28th for up to 110 hours in -30 weather. More than 4,000 people had to be evacuated as water pipes in homes quickly froze and burst in a matter of hours. Since that outage, people have been working around the clock to assess and repair hundreds of homes. The Cree Nation's chief admits they are tired and is demanding that the Canadian military be sent in to help. APTN National News brings you the very latest.
I hope I get a new house. Because this house was built here first before the ONR got built.
Murphy Trout is waiting for life to go back to normal. However, he realized a water pipe in his crawl space was leaking on Tuesday.
I could probably shut it off, huh?
Water has since filled that crawl space, damaging the home and some of his belongings. Trout lives in one of the older houses in the community, and if it becomes unlivable, he says he has nowhere else to stay.
Been living here for about 3 years with my brother because he was sick. I had to move in with him.
So far, up to 800 homes have been assessed, with about 200 in need of major repairs. Pimicikamak, which is located about 530 kilometers north of Winnipeg, went without power and heat for almost 5 days after a Manitoba hydro power line went down on December 28th. Up to 4,000 residents have been evacuated to Winnipeg, Thompson, The Paw, and Flin Flon, and are still waiting to return home. Nearly 20 plumbers are currently restoring water to about 100 seniors' homes.
I just want to help them a bit, but it's impossible to do everything just like that, eh?
The Cree Nation's lead plumber says little could be done to prevent pipes from freezing, as it only took hours for lines to break, and many homes do not have a backup generator.
Could this have been prevented? Like if you had some advanced knowledge of how long it was actually going to take that you guys would be without power?
I don't think so, because it was cold. It was cold, like.
So even 24 hours we would
even like a few hours, pump would be cracked.
Heat trace lines all were not operational, causing the water to freeze. Plumbings were all splitting because of it. The pumps would be the main thing. Shut off there, crawl spaces getting flooded, lots of damage, of course. It's going to be a considerable amount of weeks, if not months, to repair everything, get it online. We are trying to go for essential first, being seniors and children, and then moving on.
Frozen water lines weren't the only issue. Up to 5 homes were lost to fire after portable space heaters shorted out or overheated. This is one of 3 water treatment plants for the community. The infrastructure here is outdated, and plant operators have had to make repairs using only duct tape. Water is being shipped to homes, but the water is straight from the Nelson River and needs to be boiled. In the neighboring Cross Lake, cleanup and repairs continues. This home's basement has to be completely gutted and replaced after water filled the entire basement. First Nation, provincial and federal leaders visited Pimicikamak on Wednesday to assess the damage and held a closed-door meeting with leadership.
They're here to validate our truth, because nobody seems to believe what we're saying here. And it's unfortunate that we have to do this.
On Tuesday, the federal government announced it will assist with $1.4 million for aid and repairs. However, Chief Monias says those much-needed resources have yet to be made available. Officials also say the repairs could be in the millions, with many more months of work needed.
We need our infrastructure replaced and repaired at the moment, immediately, and replaced. Our water and sewer infrastructure is basically gone.
Chief Monias also wants the Canadian military to be sent in to help get the infrastructure up and running more quickly and keep the community from getting fatigue. For now, Northern and Arctic Affairs Minister Rebecca Chartrand would not make that promise.
From my personal perspective, is a local approach, right? We need to access all of the plumbers and technicians that are local. This is an opportunity to tap into, local and Indigenous owned businesses.
Chiefs were quick to respond.
We need the Army. They can actually provide all the technicians and all the engineers and the mobilize in mass and get things done. And we exhausted our local resources. I'm tired. Everybody's tired here. And everybody's saying, well, let's use local resources. Well, people haven't slept maybe with 2 hours.
This is a catastrophe, and the response needed requires all resources available that the nation needs at their disposal. In order to address this crisis, there has to be external resources. This is a national emergency now.
We have made the commitment that after this visit to community today, that we would meet again and assess, what is the damage and what is the approach that's needed. So I'm not ruling out that I'm not ruling out that the Army won't be deployed, but that is not my decision.
Premier Wabkanu said he would not get in the way of military support, but was short on announcing any provincial assistance. Canoe did, however, order Manitoba Hydro to provide an after-action review and requested a new power line to be built along the main highway.
Will that make a difference? How feasible is it? That's a clear ask that I heard today, and so we're asking Hydro to take a serious look at that, and as part of their review of the situation.
For 48 years we've been asking to reroute that distribution line. For 48 years they've been seeing that deteriorate. They knew there was a problem there. There was a big problem and they ignored it, and it's basically neglect.
Right now, it is unclear if the military will still be sent in to help. However, with each passing day, evacuated residents grow more tired and restless. Chief Monias is advising evacuees to stay put as many homes are still unsafe to live in and the repairs and cleanup continue. A First Nation in Northern Ontario continues to struggle without access to safe drinking water after its water treatment system stopped working this past weekend. The Kashechewan First Nation is a remote fly-in community located near James Bay. The community says the situation has created a public safety crisis with sewage backing up into homes and contaminating water. They have declared a local state of emergency and are making evacuation plans. In an emailed statement to APTN News, Indigenous Services says the government is assisting with community with repairs to the water treatment system, distribution of bottled water, and evacuation planning. Kashechewan First Nation Chief Ozea Wesley told APTN the community is making plans to evacuate 2,200 residents after the nursing station was flooded.
I feel sorry for the children right now. They have to go through this time, 2026. It's really sad to see children, babies have to leave with this cold weather, going to hosting communities, try to get the basic need of water, to this what's going on in our community. At the same time, it's, education is really important for the students now. Now they have to miss this these days because of infrastructure failure.
The Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation in northeastern Saskatchewan is also experiencing water issues this week, calling it a critical water system emergency, and they're asking residents to conserve water. On Wednesday, Peter Ballantyne notified its residents that they were dealing with a critical failure to its raw water intake system. They said the issue is limiting the amount of water entering the treatment system and poses a serious risk of a shutdown and freeze up. In another notice, the First Nation says the water system is now stable as of today, with a temporary pump being installed today to draw water directly from the nearby lake. For now, all residents, including for Pelican Narrows, are being asked to boil their water before consumption and use. Bottled water is also being delivered to dozens of homes. The local school has closed down for the day, and health and community services are operating with restrictions. No word yet on when the water treatment plant will be stabilized. A first-of-its-kind report reveals that Indigenous people and newcomers in the Northwest Territories' North Slave region are experiencing discrimination at rates far above the national average. And the kicker, most are unaware of the NWT Human Rights Commission. The NWT Human Rights Commission's 2025 report shows 90% of Indigenous survey respondents say they've faced discrimination in the past 5 years. For newcomers, it's 78%. That's nearly double the national average for both groups. But there's also a widespread lack of awareness about the very agency meant to help. Of the 87 respondents, just 8 Indigenous people and 2 newcomers had ever contacted the NWT Human Rights Commission. Barriers to reporting include fear of retaliation, emotional exhaustion, and a belief the process is too long and complex. The report includes a dozen recommendations. Commission Chair Charles Dent says the report is a baseline for change to improve outreach and services, and an action plan developed this year.
We have, in fact, just in the last few years, changed our process to try and make it more accessible. And we've changed to a restorative process. So what we do is bring people together to try and resolve the differences before it goes to a court-like process, and try and make it a much more humane, much more relational type of process. So that's one of the things that we definitely agree with that's in the report, is their recommendation that we become more restorative.
An Indigenous-owned cafe is helping people who live with diabetes with new food options through their menu. That story after the break. Welcome back. Now a look back at a very eventful year in Manitoba. Searches for the remains of First Nations women were on many minds, devastating wildfires took over the province, and provincial politicians were in the spotlight. APTN Sav Jonesa with a review of Manitoba's 2025.
Early 2025 started off with news that brought some closure to a story of international attention. The remains of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron were uncovered in Winnipeg's Prairie Green landfill. The discovery came roughly 3 months after the physical landfill search began in December 2024 and almost 3 years after they were murdered.
Mercedes Myron and Morgan Harris are coming home. This is what we set out to do. I don't know if many of us knew the odds of success. I certainly was always trying to keep a realistic perspective, but it turns out bringing them home was within our grasp.
The search went forth thanks to 2 strenuous years of advocacy by the women's families, following refusal from the former Manitoba government and Winnipeg police to look for their loved ones in the landfill.
To the police system, to the government, you sit there and think about this. Think about how disgustingly you treated us. And think of how far we made it, even though you said no.
Harris and Myron were murdered by a serial killer in spring 2022, along with Rebecca Contois and another victim who was unidentified at the time and given the name Mushkide Bijike Ikwe, or Buffalo Woman. Her identity was confirmed as Ashley Shingus in late March.
We know where Ashley is. My wife and I, we looked at each other and we cried.
Late spring saw snow melt and wildfires erupt throughout all regions of Manitoba, hitting the north hardest. A province-wide state of emergency was called twice, while close to 33,000 Manitobans were evacuated from their homes in what became the worst wildfire in the province's 30-year record.
We call upon the whole country to be able to stand with us, because this kind of massive evacuation is unprecedented. It has never happened before.
More than 2 million hectares of land burned, while Manitobans, many from remote First Nations, struggled to reach safety.
No firefighting aircrafts or crews have been deployed, as we are completely abandoned.
Most evacuees are home now, but say they are still experiencing negative health effects and housing issues from the wildfires. A provincial minister's hot mic scandal saw accessibility rights take center stage in the summer. Nahanni Fontaine, the minister responsible for accessibility, was caught making disparaging remarks about an American Sign Language interpreter and removing her from the stage at a government-hosted event.
It was okay, I was thrown off, it wasn't great, but because the woman, she shouldn't have been on the stage, I couldn't see anybody on the side, and all I could hear was her ranting him? Yeah, so I'm like, why did I on the stage? Jesus, I'm like, you need to relax.
Members of the deaf and hard of hearing community condemned the action, calling for an apology and some for Fontaine's removal from the role.
Indigenous people, we face racism, discrimination, barriers every day. Deaf people experience autism and discrimination every day. Being both, you have more discrimination, and as a woman as well. And so there's just this intersectionality and these layers of these various experiences.
Later that summer, the state of Manitoba's political climate came into focus after multiple arson and vandalism attacks against Fontaine and fellow provincial cabinet minister Bernadette Smith, who are both Indigenous women. Fontaine's office was notably firebombed on September 30th, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
It's not something that's just over in a couple of days. This is something that we're going to carry with us for the rest of our lives.
In late November, the suspected arsonist, Jesse Wheatland, was caught shortly after allegedly setting fire to an addictions treatment center. Police have not released his motive. 2025 ended off similar to how it began, looking for First Nations women in a landfill. On December 1st, the province, city, and Winnipeg police came together to search for Ashley Shingus's remains in the Brady Road landfill.
I just told her parents, I hope you feel that this is the value and the respect and the dignity that we hold for your daughter. and I hope we're able to bring her home soon.
The search began a year after the start of the Prairie Green landfill search for Harris and Myron, but this time without requiring a feasibility study to see if it was possible. Leftover funds from that search will be used for locating Shingoose and then also Tanya Nipanak's remains, who went missing in 2011. We're eager to bring you updates on all these stories as they progress in the new year and strive to remain your trusted Indigenous news source in 2026. Sav Jonsa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thank you, Sav. Delicious dining for those with dietary needs. A new cafe in Oshawakin, Ontario has a menu with a mission. Skuna is a diabetic-friendly establishment that allows people to enjoy a meal without having to overthink the menu. Here's CTV's Karis Mapp with that story.
I never knew that a place like this even existed.
A quaint cafe nestled in the heart of Ohsweken is catering to a cause. It came to be after owner John Joseph was diagnosed with diabetes in June.
I knew I was overweight, but my breathing was getting bad. I was getting really sluggish in the morning. I didn't want to get out of bed, and I was just feeling, I knew something was wrong.
With his health now a priority, Joseph was being mindful of his meals, which proved to be a struggle when eating at restaurants.
Even going in and getting a plain chicken, the sauce on it's got sugar, the salads have sugar, so I thought, well, I can't be the only person experiencing this.
Now his Skuna Cafe is bringing people from all around to check out the unique menu.
Everything is balanced, the macros are all set up, and so you get your proper amounts for each meal. And even the desserts that we have that come with our meals, there are absolutely no sugar in them.
This family from Port Dover made the 40-minute drive.
The lion's share of restaurants out there do not cater to diabetics at all. Most places are very, very good at making accommodations, but I watch what I eat like a hawk. I have to.
Diabetes is a disease that develops when your body isn't making enough insulin, and extremely prevalent on the Six Nations Reserve.
We look at economic factors, like historical lack of access to healthcare as well too, and ongoing lack of access to nutritious foods and traditional foods that really kind of perpetuates the diabetes.
Six Nations is also known as a food desert due to the lack of grocery stores in the area.
It's very reassuring that I know I can send patients somewhere where they're going to get a nutritious meal that's good for their blood sugars as well too. And it's great to see these community-led initiatives really popping up.
Joseph says he plans to expand the space so more people can enjoy the nutritious and delicious food.
Giving elders a safe place to come and eat and enjoy a diabetic meal without feeling guilty about going out for dinner and getting off their diet or eating something unhealthy.
Karis Mapp, CTV News, Ohsweken.
An Indigenous author from Saskatchewan is receiving the country's highest honor. That story after the break. Me Gwetch for staying with us. Charlottetown 0, Halifax 2. Nain -14, Cartwright -4. 0 in Saquonay, Gaspé -2. Peterborough 7, Ottawa 4 in showers. Wawa 1, Sioux Lookout -7 in flurries. Churchill sunny and -25, Norway House -10. -12 in Winnipeg, Princess Harbour -7. Regina -11, Estevan cloudy and -7. Uranium City -19, Meadow Lake -20. Sunny in Fort McMurray at +2, Fort Chipewyan -9. 3 in Calgary, Edmonton 1. 5 in Kamloops, Campbell River, rain and 6. 7 in Prince Rupert, Smithers 4 and cloudy. Old Crow -31 and sunny there, Mayo -14. -7 in Trout Lake, Norman Wells -25. Tuktoyaktuk -25, Palatuk -22. -38 in Baker Lake, Chesterfield -32. And Arctic Bay -19, Resolute -19 as well. Welcome back. An author, advocate, lawyer, 60 Scoop, and residential school survivor from Red Pheasant Cree Nation in Saskatchewan has been appointed to the Order of Canada. It was announced on New Year's Eve that Michelle Good is one of 80 people to receive the honor this year. Good obtained her law degree in her 40s and spent more than 14 years advocating for residential school survivors. In 2014, she earned her Master of Fine Arts degree in creative writing. Her debut novel, Five Little Indians, follows residential school survivors as they struggle to rebuild their lives after leaving the schools. It won several awards, including the Governor General's Award for English Language Fiction. Good says her journey from activism to law to writing is not a change in purpose, but a change in approach.
Of doing the best I can to improve circumstances for Indigenous peoples. And and of that, representing survivors was probably the most important, meaningful experience of my life. And it really was the springboard for making, finally, decisions about writing.
Up next, we have host Kim Sullivan in Montreal to give us a preview of the first Nouvelle Nationale of 2026. Tanse, Kim.
Hey, Creason, Happy New Year. It's our first show of 2026, and unfortunately, it doesn't start off with the best news. Already 2 femicides in Quebec. One of them happened in one of our communities. Also, everyone's talking about Trump in Greenland, so we touch upon it too. We do have the heartwarming story of a young chef who's returned to his roots, opening a restaurant that celebrates his heritage, and we sat down with the new mayor of Montreal. All that 6:30 Eastern tonight.
Thank you, Kim. And that's your daytime newscast for this Friday. Savannah Kelly is back for your evening newscast in a few hours, including an update on the ice fallout south of the border. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News Daytime, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. We'll see you again on Monday, same time, same place. Ekose.